back to the question because it will not go away. If God is real, why the silence? Why, when the night is long and the body aches and the mind reels, does heaven sound like an empty room? Let us say it plainly now, not to appease the mind, but to instruct the heart. Divine silence is not God's absence. It is the doorway through which we must pass. Be still and know that I am God. Not be frantic, not be theological, not be persuasive. Be still. Elijah learned it when the wind and the earthquake and the fire shouted and God was not in any of them, and then a still small voice and the prophet knew. Do you see that? The stillness was not emptiness. It was presence beyond volume. Now the unpopular path. We will not argue God into speech. We will not take thought to force the infinite into our syllables. Nobody by taking thought can contact God. God isn't mind. God isn't even soul. Nobody knows what God is. And that is why we do not turn to God for things, or for outcomes, or for human victories. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. We seek the kingdom, not its dividends. We approach in silence, not debate. We enter, we do not demand. Here is the test, and it is the first measure of faith. What is your reaction to the silence? Do you fight it? Do you label it delay, neglect, abandonment? Or do you yield quietly, reverently, refusing to set terms for the holy? Faith is shown by your reaction. We are on the middle path when we neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance, including the appearance of God's quiet. My sheep hear my voice, yes, but the sheep do not bleat the pasture into speaking, they listen. All right? Let me give you the hook, because you must have the honesty to meet it. God isn't hiding your thought as too loud. The static of fear, the insistence of opinion, the clamor of need, this is the noise that drowns the whisper. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. Not a fasting of bread and water, but a fasting of concepts and inner argument. We abstain from sides, including our own. Principle over personalities, you see. We refuse to enter the case humanly, even when the case is our longing for God to hurry. I will not offer you controversy. I will offer you an experience. Mystery to method to surrender. That is the arc. There must come, if even for a split second, the click of silence in which contact is made and the word not spoken is heard. Our aim is exact. Principle over personality, contact over concepts, non-reaction over result, hunting. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. So for now, do not push at the door. Stand before it. Lay down your sword of thought. Refuse to count the minutes. Bless the quiet as sacrament. And if you are willing, only willing, then in thy silence he shall come to thee. Now let us take the knife that love provides and cut away what stands between you and the holy. Shock first, and then mercy. God isn't mind. God isn't even soul. God is not power. Nobody knows what God is. Do you see how the mind winces at that? It wants a handle, a label, a power we can deploy, a definition we can rehearse, a syllable we can trade for safety. But as long as God is a concept, the mind will try to grasp, to manage, to command, and in that very motion, it misses contact. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, not even a golden theology, not even a graven idea. All right, now do not run to defend your favorite truths. Lay them on the altar for a moment. We are not denying God. We are denying the mind's idol of God. The idol is tidy and cooperative. The living one is not at your disposal. The idol works by quid pro quo. You recite, you fast, you tithe, and in return you get desired outcomes. But the master did not offer bargains. He offered a kingdom. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. He did not say seek the kingdom to get a better harvest. He said seek the kingdom, period. Do you see that? If you still go to God for something, you do not go to God. You go to your own need in a robe. This is why silence feels like loss to the theological mind. It loses its toolkit. It cannot argue, cannot quote, cannot persuade the infinite to act good. Blessed loss. Neither in this mountain, nor yet at Jerusalem, shall ye worship the Father, but in spirit and in truth. And again, the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. Sacred contact is not in the place, the day, the hour, the posture. It is not in the system, the order, the creed. The forms are fine when they serve the silence, but when you serve the forms, you bow to the idol. Man was not made for the Sabbath. Your soul was not made to be measured by your observances. You were made for God, and God for no thing you can bind. Forget for the moment even the truths you cherish. Forget that you know God is love, God is life, God is principle. Forget every practice by which you have tried to move heaven. Sit down within and empty the room. This kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting, a fasting from inner argument, a prayer that is not speech, but acquiescence. Let the unknown be unknown. Yield the comfort of conclusions. Refuse to turn to God for anything. Turn to God, and you will find quietly, without trumpet, that when the idol collapses and the mind stands unarmed, a presence not captured by thought begins to announce itself without announcing not a word, yet word, not a power against powers, but the cessation of powers. In that split second, contact precedes content. Now the mind can learn again, but as servant, not master. Now truth can be given back to you, not as concept, but as bread you do not bake. Be still. Empty the room. Leave even your best thoughts at the door. The living one does not enter a crowded house. Now we must name the culprit without ceremony. Thought is the static, silence is the frequency. Which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit unto his stature? None of you and none of us. Nobody, by taking thought, can contact God. God isn't mind, and so the machinery of the mind cannot turn the handle that opens the door. You can think truth until the tongue dries and the brain tires, and still no click. Because the click is not an idea, it is a split second of non-idea in which the something not thought announces itself without a word. Do you see that? The mind may escort you to the threshold, but the threshold will not take a step to meet the mind. There must come a moment unpurchasable, unschedulable, when silence appears, not as an achievement, but as grace. And the seeking mind cannot manufacture grace by effort. Take no thought for your life, not because thought is evil, but because it is interference on this band. Let us diagnose the interference plainly so you can catch it in the act. Analyzing, pleading, affirming, arguing, busy shadows moving over a quiet light. The second you sit down to be still, the studio of the brain lights up. You compose prayers. You remember scriptures to angle at God like fishing lures. You line up logic. You promise reformation, if only. You see how pious it sounds? And yet it is the noise that drowns the whisper. The itch to manage divinity is the very proof that we have not yet consented to God as God. It is our reflex to fill the quiet that reveals the trouble. Silence meets us, and we rush to stuff it with syllables. That is not faith. That is panic in religious clothing. All right? Now, here is a measurable beginning. Practice an immediate non-reaction to inner noise. Let the itch to think rise and fall without scratching it. Let the prayer you would compose dissolve unspoken. Let the argument you would marshal unmarshal itself. Neither fear, love, nor hate any thought. Do not court them. Do not fight them. Do not paint them gold and call them holy. Sit and watch the waves pass. And fast, yes, fast from the compulsion to touch any of it. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. Fasting from what? From inner speech. From the habit of taking thought as savior. Prayer of what kind? The prayer that is consent, not content, the laying down of sound before the unsounded. You cannot tighten your brow into this. You cannot breathe cleverly enough to earn it. You cannot schedule the split second, and you cannot grade yourself on how it is going. If you notice that you are noticing yourself, let even that pass. Do you see the simplicity? In the degree that you refuse to react to the parade within, you discover that the parade is not the city. It is a passing show on the street of awareness. And then quietly, as when Elijah hid his face, the still small voice is known not as words, but as presence. Be still and know that I am God. The stillness is not empty. Our noise is crowded. When the crowd disperses, the room is not vacant. It is occupied by the one who needed no announcement. Be not afraid. It is I. All right. Now we bring it down to the ground where your feet stand, because mysticism that will not walk the street is just decoration. Faith is shown by your reaction, not by your verses, not by your church attendance, not by your fevered affirmations, by your reaction. When appearance knocks, what happens in you? If you have faith, you will not react to the appearances of discord. We walk the middle path when we neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance. Not the pleasant one, not the frightening one, not even the holy-looking one. Do you see? The middle is not dullness, it is consecration. Resist not evil, said the Master, because resistance feeds the picture, and then stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Stand still, non-reaction. Let me show you, not to thrill you, but to train you. The doctor lays down a prognosis like a gavel. 6 months. The room inhales. You can feel the family's eyes search your face to borrow permission for fear. Right there is the test. Never desire to change appearances. Never enter the case humanly. Never advise the problem. Don't begin a negotiation with medicine or a duel with a report. Don't rush to quote. Don't try to outshout the verdict. Be still. Let the heart say without syllables, I, God, am the solution to all problems. Let that be so. Not said, be not afraid. It is I. And if the tears come, let them fall without argument. The calm that refuses to take sides is not cowardice. It is opening the window so air can move where the room had shut itself. Another case. A man brings me a bank notice. Foreclosure in 30 days. He wants tactics. He wants introductions. He wants me to bless a scheme. I will not. Not even the side that hires you is your side. Principle is the only side, and the principle here is that supply is not in numbers or lenders or calendars, but in God contact. So we sit, we do not enter the arithmetic, we do not hate the notice, we do not love the windfall, we neither fear, love, nor hate the appearance. We hold in a silence until the click, a split second where fear is not and God is not a thought. Out of that guidance comes, without our hustle, maybe an honest liquidation, maybe a reorganization, maybe a new door. But hear me, the change is initiated by contact, not by plan. And another, perhaps the most piercing, the unanswered prayer. You have begged and the heavens are brass. Don't react to the silence. Don't conclude abandonment. Don't compose a brighter plea. Sit, fast from the impulse to improve your prayer. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting, fasting from managing God. Prayer is letting God be God. All right? Non-reaction is not indifference. It is consecrated restraint that makes room for contact. It is the refusal to feed pictures, pro or con. It is the quiet that says, peace, be still, not to the sea out there, but to the stir within here. When you can meet the doctor's word, the bank's letter, the empty sky, and keep your sword sheathed, then faith has announced itself. And in that stillness, God, who was never absent, is felt, and the appearances, without a fight, take their proper proportion and pass. Now we must add the next honesty, and it will pinch at first and then heal. You are not dealing with a good side and a bad side. You are not dealing with your side and their side. Christ is the only identity. If that sounds like piety, wait until it is the only place you can stand. Not even the side that hires you is your side. Not even your own wounded side is your side. Principle is the only side, and when you stand there, silence becomes operative because there is no more psychic noise of preference to keep the air thick. Do you see that? The wind can move because you have taken the furniture of opinions out of the room. Let me show you how this refuses drama. In San Pedro, a few years back, capital versus labor, a strike with faces flushed and fists tight. Management brought me in, hoping for a blessing on their leverage. I told them, as I tell you, never enter the case humanly. Never give human advice. We are not here to make a side win. We are here to behold the activity of spirit. So I sat, not for minutes, but for nights, with the file unopened, the slogans unread, until there was a click, only a split second. In that quiet, I felt the one face. Be not afraid. It is I. After that, a different conversation emerged, a schedule altered, a surplus shared, a concession given with no one humiliated. Did I cause it? No. Contact initiated the change. Principle governed it. If the one that engaged you wants to lose his argument, that is his business. Our business is that Christ, the only identity, be acknowledged, and the rest will find its own level. Another field, spouse against spouse, each with a book of grievances. They wanted tactics. I would not take their past into my mouth. Sometimes the separation is very spiritual. Let's have it if it is the way spirit clears the field. And sometimes it is a new tenderness. I could not know, and neither can you, humanly. I refuse to treat either as defendant. I sat until the faces lost their labels. Inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these, ye have done it unto me. Meet each face as the one face. Out of that, one pair parted with a blessing instead of a war, and 2 children grew without poison. Another pair remained, but the old marriage died, and a new one rose within the same home. Which outcome did I prefer? None. I preferred principle. Artist and critic, yes, I have watched this play too. The artist wanted vindication, the critic wanted to be right. I counseled neither. I sat until the itch to protect the artist I loved quieted until my own side dropped. Then a simple instruction surfaced for the artist. Withdraw the latest piece, not in defeat, but in integrity. Let the work rest. Months later, a new series appeared, and the critic had nothing to say because the work stood without argument. Do you see? Not victory, not submission principle. Here is your rule when the heat rises. Refuse sides, including your own. Do not lend your heart to outcomes. Never enter the case humanly. Never give human advice. Behold the activity of spirit. Hold still until be not afraid. It is I is the only face you see across the table, across the picket line, across the pillow. Then the middle path, neither for nor against, opens under your feet, and the room fills with a quiet that works like law. When sides fall away, the field clears. And in that clearing, God, who needs no side, governs. Now, if you will, let us take one more step off the familiar ground and on to the firm one. Most of what frightens you in this world, sickness, sin, shortage, contagion, conflict, this has nothing to do with this person. This is a universal belief, impersonally pressing for your consent. Do you see? The instant you call it my cancer, my failure, their wickedness, you hang a name tag on the wind and then wonder why it keeps slipping your grasp. Impersonalize the picture, and half its spell is broken. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. That is not sentimentalism. It is metaphysical accuracy. The doing is ignorance universalized, belief made noisy, not an independent power performing an act against God. Hear this and let it travel farther than your ears. Infection and contagion have no law to support them. There is only one power. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. If there is one power, there is not a second power sneaking in through drafts and headlines. Now, do you see what that does to fear? It thins it. And thin fear thins thought. And thin thought opens silence. You do not browbeat a germ, nor do you worship a vitamin. You stand in the recognition of one presence, one life, one law, and you let the mind's panic cool until the inward click is given. I have watched this in rooms that smelled of alcohol and iodine, and I have watched it at kitchen tables where the news ran hotter than the coffee. In one coastal town, the children were kept home because a rumor in the air had grown teeth. I would not chase the rumor or draft a counter-argument. I sat quietly, without drama. I nullified any seeming effect from a universal belief in contagion. How? Not with phrases to bark at the sky, but with a meek inner consent. Father, if thou be one, show thyself as one here. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper. The panic eased first, always. The panic eases first, and then the phone calls shifted, and then the doors opened. Was there magic? No. Contact? Not argument. Another case. A man drowning in shame for a habit he could not break begged me to declare him free. I did not charge at his habit. I refused his personalization. This is not you. This is a universal belief in separation, acting as compulsion, and it has no law. Right there, silently, the sentence was served on the lie. Lawless. And as the lie lost its courtroom, the man's fear lost its fuel. Perfect love casteth out fear. Weeks later, he wrote, not triumphant, but quiet. He had not won a battle. The battle had been canceled. All right? Now make a rule you can carry in your pocket. The moment a picture rises, germs, gossip, guilt say within, this has nothing to do with me or them. This is a universal belief, and it has no law. Then be still. Don't fight it. Don't fix it. Internally nullify it, quietly, without drama, and refuse to pick it back up as your own. Powerlessness recognized becomes restfulness embodied, and in that rest, the still small voice is not drowned by the siren of fear. Be still and know that I am God. Not two powers, not a contest, one. When you will stand there, neither fearing, loving, nor hating the appearance, the heart is readied for silence, and in silence, God, who was never absent, is felt as the only law that ever was. Now we speak of method, not tricks, not systems, not slogans, the simple ladder you can climb in the kitchen at 6 a.m. or in a hospital corridor at midnight. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. Not fasting of bread alone, you could live on water and still be noisy within. Fasting of thought, fasting of sides, fasting of the itch to steer God, prayer that is not content but consent. Do you see that? The method is subtraction. Each rung takes something away until the click, just a split second, finds you unguarded, and God is not a notion but a felt fact without any shape. First rung, Identify the universal belief pressing at the door and quietly deny it law. Quietly, without drama, without a duel. This has nothing to do with me or them. This is a universal belief and it has no law. Say it within and then hold still. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. If there is one, there are not two, and if there are not two, there is no opposite law to compel fear. Do not preach at the picture. Do not love or hate it. Simply withdraw your consent and let the fear thin. Half the noise is already gone when you stop making it personal. Second rung, lay down the theological machinery. Forget, for this moment, all the truth we ever knew. Yes, forget even your favorite verses. Let them rest in their scabbards. Nobody, by taking thought, can contact God. God isn't mind. God isn't even soul. We are not here to angle doctrine of deity as bait. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and thy Father, which seeth in secret, shall reward thee openly. The closet is not stacked with books and phrases. It is empty enough for God to be God. All right? Let the mind bow out. Let the Sabbath serve the man, not the man, the Sabbath. Third rung, release personal clinging, fear, hope, timelines, outcomes. Let them drop like coats from your arm. Refuse sides, including your own. Not even the side that hires you is your side. Not even your pain is your side. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. If you must, name the burdens as they fall. My clock, my plan, my proof, and then unname them. Do not judge your demonstration day by day. Let maturity bring to light. The more you hurry, the more you thicken the air. We are not timing God, we are untiming ourselves. Fourth rung, enter silence and wait. Simply wait until the click, the split second of God contact, offers itself. You cannot coerce it with breath or posture. You can only make room. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Wait, and do not watch yourself waiting. If a thought darts in, let it pass unfed. If a feeling rises, neither hold it nor shove it, let it empty. Then sometimes in the space between two breaths, presence is, and you know without words, be not afraid, it is I. Not a vision to report, not a sentence to quote the sense of one. After contact, remain unattached. Do not spring up to see if the fig has ripened. First the blade, then the ear, after that the full corn in the ear. Let God have its perfect work. Hold your peace. Walk out of the closet with the same quiet you carried in. If a next step is given, it will be given without strain. If nothing is given, nothing is required. Don't count the demonstration. Don't polish the feeling. Keep fasting from thought through the day with brief, faithful silences, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, tiny empty rooms where the holy is at home. And as you keep this ladder, not climbing higher, but shedding more, you will discover the mystery was never far. The subtraction was the door, and the door was already open. Now listen, because this is not theory polished for your approval. This is what happens when we refuse sides, fast from thought, and wait for the click. Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Silent contact, not argument, initiates what we later call healing, reconciliation, guidance. We do not swing a sword at appearances. We sheathe the sword and let presence be presence. All right? Los Angeles. A labor dispute with teeth in it. Both rooms hot. Both rooms certain. Management hired me. Do you see the temptation to be a hired conscience? And I would not take their side. Not even the side that hires you is your side. I read no briefs. I answered no calls. I sat night after night until the itch to be clever drained, and only the one face remained. Be not afraid. It is I. Then, without anybody winning a crusade, an unforeseen settlement, rose of itself. Schedules altered, a surplus redirected, no one humiliated, no one crowned. Did I engineer terms? Never. I never entered the case humanly. I kept silence until principle could govern, and it did. Another field, sterner to your human ears, a call at dusk, a man pronounced dead, the room already emptied of hope. I went and I said nothing. Hours of stillness, do you see? No bargaining, no syllables waved at mortality, just that interior obedience by which you sit still until the click. In time, only God knows how long the assurance came, like a breath before breath. I am the resurrection and the life, not a phrase to hurl at death, a presence that could not be absent. Then a stir, then breath, then eyes opening as if waking from a dark nap. Was it my prayer? No. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting, fasting from fear, from triumph, from power against, until life itself declares, itself Maui. Seasons of quiet with a small group, no programs to advertise, very little talk. We met to do one thing, be still. The raw edges of the town began to soften. Couples who had rehearsed their grievances laid them down without negotiations. Brothers not speaking over an inheritance found a way to share or to part without poison. The shopkeeper who feared the tourist season would ruin him discovered a different order of supply. No manifestos, no campaigns, just the slow rain of silence on hard soil. First the blade, then the ear. After that, the full corn in the ear. And a letter from a student, brief and clean as morning. I was told, go and sin no more. No thunderclap, no scolding angel. She had sat in her guilt until the guilt ran out of fuel. And in the emptied room, guidance arose without condemnation. Not a command hammered from outside, and inside, yes, that made the old compulsion uninteresting. Neither do I condemn thee, go and sin no more. Do you see how the word appears only after the silence has displaced the accuser? Note the constant thread in each field. Never human advice, never the fever to improve the picture, never power against, only contact, then unfoldment. Outcomes vary, some part, some mend, some live on, some lay down their season, but the inner signature never varies. Quiet recognition, then movement. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. If you will stand still, fasting from sides, from thought, from the need to win, spirit has room to be spirit, and the arrangements you could not have schemed will come forth without your noise. All right? Be still and know. Then watch in due time how knowing moves the world. Now we come to the temptation that ruins more good seed than the birds of the air. Counting the demonstration. Don't look at your demonstration day by day. Don't peer into the soil to see if the root is sprouting. Don't weigh your peace each morning and grade God on a curve each night. Counting interrupts consecration. Hurry is camouflaged thought noise. Patience is part of silence. Let patience have her perfect work. Not because delay is holy, but because the mind's meter breaks the very stillness in which God is felt. Do you see that? The moment you measure, you have already left the closet to check results in the street, and the street cannot tell you what is happening in the sanctuary. Saul of Tarsus is our tutor here. Struck by a light, emptied of bravado, he did not open a ministry next Tuesday. He conferred not with flesh and blood, and there were years of interior reformation before the public word came with authority. Tradition speaks of 9 years hidden before Paul could speak as Paul. Why? Because the old zeal must be dissolved in silence. The sword must be taken from the hand that would wield it for God. The theology must be unlearned until it is no longer I, but Christ liveth in me is not a sentence, but a state. You don't think for a minute they can understand it that day? No. Let maturity bring to light. Fruit trees do not argue themselves into blossom. First the blade, then the ear, After that, the full corn in the ear. You can't tug the ear into the full corn. You can only let life have its perfect work. All right? Then stop hurrying, spirit. Stop fussing at the hourglass. If spiritual harmony requires separation, let's have it. If union is ripening, let it ripen without you staging it. We do not bargain for outcomes. We consent to God. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Waiting is not sulking. It is inner stillness maintained without checking the clock. Let me tell you how this sounds in a week of trouble. A woman came with a pain that had written a calendar on her face. She asked, "How long?" I said, "Don't look at your demonstration day by day. Sit fast from thought, refuse sides, and when the click comes, get up and make no report to yourself." She did, for 3 weeks, nothing to brag about. Then, one morning, not a miracle, just nothing to report, because the pain had forgotten to appear. She wrote, puzzled and free. It left as if it had never been. This is what happens when you stop counting and start consenting. Another case. 2 partners at war agreed to sit in separate rooms each dawn and say nothing for 10 minutes. No tally, no strategy. For a month, the business looked worse. I forbade them to measure. In the second month, a buyer arrived no one had courted, and each man felt released to bless a parting. Harmony required separation. We let it be so. Do you see? No hurrying, no forcing, no spiritualized anxiety, just refusal to break silence with a stopwatch. Let God have its perfect work. Keep your hands off the buds. Keep your eyes off the calendar. Keep your heart in the closet. Every time the itch to check rises, name it what it is, thought noise, and fast from it. Be still and know. Then let knowing take its time, appearing as form. Don't count. Consent. Don't hurry. Hush. And in due season, always in due season, the unseen root breaks the ground without your shout, and you will find that the silence you kept was the womb of the thing you prayed for without words. Now we make this livable. No heroics. No monastery required. A rule you can keep. Set brief, faithful appointments with quiet. 3 minutes, many times. Morning, midday, evening, and as the Spirit nudges, consecration over duration. Do you see? 10 honest breaths are holier than an hour of fidgeting. Put it in your day as you would put food in your body. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet. The closet is a moment you keep. Close the door on thought, not on the world, and be still until the click is possible, even if it does not come. You are training the heart to be empty on cue. Between these appointments, learn the micropause. Before you send the email, 1 breath of non-reaction. Before you read the diagnosis, 1 breath of non-reaction. Before you celebrate the good news, yes, even the good, 1 breath of non-reaction. Resist not evil, and also resist not good in the human sense. Neither fear, love, nor hate the appearance. 1 inner step back. Father, into thy hands. No language necessary if language would become a tool. A single still breath says, be still and know that I am God. And the knowing has room to arise. Keep the prohibitions clean. Never enter the case humanly. Never desire to change appearances. Don't turn to God for a different picture. Turn to God. Be still in Christ. Let Christ's will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That little sentence can be your doorway, not as an order you bark at the sky, but as consent you whisper to your own will. Thy will, not mine. In a hallway, at a red light, in the waiting room, consent. Then hush. Now, when you fail, and you will, because practice includes missing the note, don't react to the reaction. Don't scold yourself. That is more noise. Smile inwardly as to a child learning steps and return. The righteous falleth 7 times and riseth up again. Rise up without a speech. Start over right where you are. If you flared at the news, take the next breath as sanctuary. If you sent the hot email, take the next breath as sanctuary and send the amends from principle, not shame. You see, that is practice. Make an altar of anywhere, neither in this mountain nor in Jerusalem, but in spirit and in truth. The kitchen sink, the bus seat, the store aisle, the office stairwell, all are closets if you close the inner door. Sabbath everywhere. Pray without ceasing means pause without ceasing, short, faithful silences that keep the channel clear for the great silence when it comes. Hold to this. Keep small, faithful silences. Do not count them. Keep them. Do not dramatize them. Honor them. They are the slow schooling of your nerves in non-reaction, the steady thinning of thought noise, the preparing of the manger for a birth that does not announce itself with brass, but with a breath. One day, no special day, you will be keeping your little appointment, and there it is, the split second. Be not afraid, it is I, not an idea of God, but God contact. And because you have practiced, you will not grab it, you will rest in it. Then let it govern and walk on, all right? Then here is the answer nobody likes, because it places the work where it belongs. God is not silent. We are noisy. The thunder is not in heaven. It is in our heads. So the invitation you didn't want becomes the doorway you must love. Become silent. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear. Ears are born in quiet. When the hum of judgment and protection and hope and dread stills, you will discover there was always a voice too gentle for our shouting. Be still and know that I am God. Not become, be, not later. Now, carry this into the street and into the kitchen and into the boardroom. Neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance. Bless and walk on. If the report is bright, bless and walk on. If the report is dark, bless and walk on. Resist not evil, and do not clutch at good as if it were yours to keep. Both are pictures on moving water. The middle path does not stare at the waves. It beholds the sea. When the email stings, bless and walk on. When praise wants to build you a throne, bless and walk on. Do you see? Calm non-reaction is not passivity, it is room for God. Now the center of it, Christ is the only identity. Refuse belief in a selfhood apart from God. I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. Say it without display and then prove it by declining the bait to defend a separate self, your pride, your guilt, your resume of hurts. Do not enter your own case humanly. When you stop treating the mask as a man, the mask falls of itself. Principle over personalities must begin within. Ignore the person you imagine yourself to be and stand where Christ is the only I. And be honest about willingness. If you are not willing to leave mother, brother, sister, father, for truth's sake so, and then grow willing. Sometimes the leaving is geographical. Often it is interior, releasing the claim that blood, tribe, history, or opinion outranks spirit. He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. This is not cruelty, it is order. If spiritual harmony requires separation, let's have it. If unity can only be born after you put down your side, let's have it. Let God have its perfect work. Do not turn to God for anything, turn to God. Seek not power, seek presence. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Things added are not the prize, they are the wake behind the boat. You steer by the invisible. Stop counting the cargo. Set your face to the kingdom. When you are no longer using God, life orders itself without your calculations. Guidance appears, arrangements arrange. What belongs remains. What cannot live in the light fades quietly without a quarrel. So let this be your benediction and your rule. Choose silence and non-reaction as your way of life, and you will discover that God was never silent. Keep the brief appointments, bless and walk on. Take no sides, not even your own. Consent without bargaining. When fear whispers its old names, answer nothing and enter the closet. And as you do, expect no spectacle, only this inward word that is older than your breath and nearer than your pulse. In thy silence I shall come to you. Be not afraid, it is I. Walk on.